It is noteworthy that approximately 48 million individuals in the United States fall ill annually due to foodborne illnesses, with over 3,000 fatalities, a significant number of which are among the senior population. The CDC indicates that older adults face a notably increased risk due to the diminished strength of their immune systems compared to earlier stages of life. It is quite alarming to recognize that numerous illnesses can originate directly from the contents of our refrigerators. Indeed, the refrigerator, often regarded as a bastion of food safety, may inadvertently be transforming certain common foods into potential health risks. Recent research indicates that inadequate storage of specific foods in the refrigerator can elevate the risk of foodborne illnesses, diminish nutrient retention, and potentially initiate harmful chemical reactions. What's truly concerning is that the majority remain completely unaware. Storing certain fruits, vegetables, or pantry staples in the fridge without careful consideration can lead to unfavorable outcomes. The top food on this list is particularly concerning. Chilling not only diminishes its nutritional value, but also leads to the formation of harmful compounds. We encourage you to remain with us until the conclusion, as the insights you gain could profoundly impact your health and potentially safeguard your life. Before we dive in, please share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Also, remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content like this. Without any delay, let us commence. 9. Potatoes are a versatile and essential staple in many cuisines around the world. We begin with a fundamental kitchen essential that many individuals often place directly into the refrigerator without a second thought. Potatoes are a versatile and essential staple in many cuisines around the world. However, what you may find surprising is the reality of the situation. Storing potatoes in the refrigerator can pose health risks. Storing raw potatoes in cold temperatures triggers a subtle yet significant reaction at the cellular level. The conversion of starch in the potato to sugar occurs at an accelerated rate, surpassing the expected timeline. While this may seem trivial at first glance, it is precisely at this juncture that the situation becomes quite alarming. When you subsequently cook or bake those refrigerated potatoes, particularly at elevated temperatures, the sugars can interact with amino acids to form acrylamide, a chemical compound associated with cancer in animal studies and currently being examined for its potential effects on humans. The conclusion is not final. When stored in the refrigerator, the texture of potatoes undergoes significant changes, resulting in a grainy, mushy consistency, often accompanied by darkening. This alteration is indicative of oxidation and a reduction in nutrient quality. Refrigerated potatoes, rather than serving as the comforting, hearty staple we cherish, transform into a soft, sweet inconsistency that may pose toxicity risks when cooked. If you've ever been curious about the unexpected sweetness of your roasted potatoes or the unusual texture they presented, the source of the issue may lie within your refrigerator. For optimal preservation, it is essential to keep potatoes in a cool, dark, and dry environment, avoiding conditions that are cold and damp. This ensures they remain robust, tasty, and suitable for consumption. If you currently have a bag of potatoes stored in your refrigerator, it is advisable to remove them promptly to prevent any potential health risks that may arise from their deterioration. Item number 8 is bread. Bread is a comforting and essential food that many seniors tend to have readily available. It may seem logical to store your loaf of bread in the fridge to prolong its freshness, but this practice is actually counterproductive. The underlying principle at play here is known as retrogradation, a term that describes the process by which starch molecules in bread begin to crystallize when subjected to lower temperatures. This process is not time-consuming. It begins to occur almost instantaneously. What implications does that hold for you? Storing your soft, fluffy bread in the fridge will lead to it going stale much more quickly than if you simply left it out at room temperature. Indeed, the refrigerator fails to maintain the freshness of your bread. It accelerates the staling process, and although the difference may not be immediately visible, the impact on flavor is unmistakable. The texture turns rigid, arid, and fragmented, transforming toast into a laborious task and diminishing the pleasure of sandwiches. However, this is where the situation deteriorates further. When bread loses moisture in the refrigerator, it can create an environment conducive to mold growth once it is removed. Mold spores thrive in the damp, inconsistent moisture that occurs during refrigeration and reheating processes. Moldy bread is not only unappetizing, but it also poses health risks. Certain molds generate mycotoxins, which are harmful compounds that can lead to significant health problems when consumed, particularly in older adults who have compromised immune systems. To effectively prolong the freshness of your bread, opting for freezing is a superior choice. The freezer effectively prevents mold growth and staling while preserving texture integrity. Simply slice it in advance and defrost as required. However, that refrigerator? This area is off limits for your everyday bread. Store bread in a bread box or a sealed container at room temperature for several days, and for anything beyond that, it is advisable to freeze it. Ensure that the cold doesn't compromise the quality of your bread and your well-being. Seventh in line. Allium cepa, commonly known as onions, are a staple in culinary practices worldwide. Their versatility and flavor profile make them an essential ingredient in various dishes. It may come as a surprise to find onions included here, yet storing them in the refrigerator is a frequent error that can result in unforeseen issues. Onions possess a naturally occurring papery skin that serves to effectively shield moisture and preserve their flavor and firmness. However, storing onions in the refrigerator disrupts that delicate balance entirely. The cold and humid conditions within your refrigerator lead to a quicker absorption of moisture by onions, particularly after they have been sliced. This results in a soft texture, unappealing taste, and often the development of mold. However, a more significant concern arises: odor transfer. Onions possess a strong pungency, and when stored in the refrigerator, they emit sulfur compounds that not only degrade at a faster rate, but can also infiltrate other nearby foods. Have you ever observed that your butter or fruit has an unusual onion-like flavor? That is a valid observation. The refrigerator is absorbing volatile compounds like a sponge. One more concealed threat is the presence of bacterial contamination. An onion that has been sliced and stored in the refrigerator, even if covered, can serve as an ideal environment for bacterial growth. Certain misconceptions suggest that onions have the ability to absorb toxins, a notion that lacks scientific backing. However, it is indeed accurate that onions that are not stored correctly, particularly when they come into contact with moisture, can become a breeding ground for harmful microbes. Whole onions should be stored in a dry, dark, and well-ventilated area, such as a pantry, for optimal preservation. Cut onions must be stored in the refrigerator only when they are tightly sealed and should be used promptly, ideally within a day or two. In contrast, whole onions should be kept in a cool environment. This approach inevitably leads to spoilage, nutrient loss, and an uninviting refrigerator filled with unexpected onion flavors. Sixth on the list, we have tomatoes. Tomatoes are often misjudged regarding their proper storage, particularly when it comes to refrigeration. Many individuals believe that refrigerating tomatoes extends their freshness. However, the reality is that cold temperatures can significantly compromise both their flavor and texture. From a scientific perspective, tomatoes are classified as tropical fruits, and they exhibit a strong aversion to cold temperatures. Placing a tomato in the refrigerator disrupts its natural enzymes and effectively halts the ripening process due to the cold air. The process of ripening is fundamentally responsible for the development of the tomato's rich flavor profile. In its absence, one is confronted with a fruit that is devoid of flavor, presenting a watery, bland, and mealy texture that fails to deliver any taste experience. It is essential to consider the texture as well. When tomatoes are kept in the refrigerator, they tend to lose their firmness and can become a soft, rubbery consistency. The delightful crunch and succulent explosion you anticipate from a ripe tomato are absent. The impact on nutrient levels is particularly alarming. Tomatoes provide a valuable source of vitamin C, However, it's important to note that this vitamin deteriorates rapidly in cold storage. This results in a compromise not only on flavor, but also on the nutritional advantages. When exposed to excessively low temperatures for prolonged periods, the skin can begin to wrinkle and shrivel, resulting in an aged and unappealing look, despite the fact that the items may still be quite fresh. When you slice into a tomato and encounter a watery or lackluster texture, it's likely due to improper chilling. To effectively store tomatoes, keep them at room temperature, shielded from direct sunlight, and position them stem side down to maintain moisture levels. If the fruits are overripe, it is advisable to utilize them promptly or consider cooking them for optimal use. Avoid placing them in the fridge under the assumption that it will be beneficial. In truth, you are merely hastening their decline. Fifth on the list, Allium sativum. Garlic is frequently recognized for its exceptional health benefits, containing sulfur compounds such as allicin that bolster immune function and may contribute to reduced blood pressure. However, the remarkable health benefits associated with garlic can rapidly diminish or even become detrimental if it is stored in the refrigerator. Whole bulbs of garlic can endure for weeks or even months at room temperature, particularly when stored in a dry, cool, and well-ventilated environment. However, refrigerating them can disrupt garlic's inherent preservation qualities due to the combination of moisture and cold temperatures. The premature sprouting of cloves alters their flavor profile and indicates a disruption in their chemical composition. The initial sharp and flavorful impact transitions into a distinctly bitter and rubbery texture. It is concerning that sprouted garlic significantly diminishes its allicin content, the primary compound that contributes to its health-enhancing properties. However, the most alarming aspect is this. When garlic is refrigerated, particularly when it has been chopped or minced and stored in oil, it poses a risk of becoming a breeding ground for Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria responsible for botulism. This uncommon yet highly perilous condition has the potential to result in paralysis and, in severe cases, death if not addressed without delay. The FDA has provided important warnings regarding the storage of garlic in oil without appropriate acidification or refrigeration measures. However, many individuals continue to engage in this practice without fully understanding the associated risks. Rather than refrigerating your garlic, store the entire bulb in a mesh bag or basket within your pantry for optimal preservation. When storing chopped garlic, it is advisable to use it promptly and to keep it in a vinegar or lemon juice base to mitigate the risk of bacterial growth. However, it is essential to ensure that the refrigerator does not diminish the potency of garlic or inadvertently introduce any risks into your culinary creations. Fourth on the list is coffee. Indeed, it's true that coffee is included in this list, and there are compelling reasons for its presence. Coffee beans and grounds exhibit a high sensitivity to moisture, odors, and light exposure. Storing them in the refrigerator may seem like a good idea for preservation, but it can actually lead to a swift deterioration of their quality. Coffee possesses hygroscopic properties, allowing it to absorb moisture and odors from its surroundings much like a sponge does. Within the confines of your refrigerator, amidst an array of fruits, vegetables, and remnants of previous meals, coffee begins to absorb the surrounding aromas and flavors. This significantly undermines the distinct flavor profile of your beans, resulting in a brew that may taste flat, bitter, or simply off. However, it extends beyond mere flavor. Humidity poses a significant threat in this context. When coffee is subjected to the cold air and humidity of the refrigerator, condensation develops on the surface of the beans or grounds each time the door is opened and closed. This results in clumping, early staling, and the degradation of vital oils that contribute to coffee's aroma and health advantages, such as chlorogenic acids. These acids function as antioxidants that promote heart and brain health. However, they are prone to degradation in cold, damp environments. As time passes, refrigerated coffee not only develops a flat taste, but also diminishes its potential health benefits. Damp coffee grounds are susceptible to mold growth, particularly when kept in a container that is not airtight. For optimal storage, keep your coffee in an opaque, Airtight container at room temperature, away from light, rather than refrigerating it. This ensures optimal freshness, rich flavor, and safety. Thirdly, honey. This particular point may truly astonish you. It possesses a delightful sweetness, a rich thickness, and a golden hue that makes it suitable for any setting, including refrigeration. Storing honey in the refrigerator is highly inadvisable and can significantly compromise its quality. Refrigerating honey can adversely affect its texture, among other qualities. This process entirely disrupts the natural preservation mechanisms that allow honey to be one of the rare foods that remains unspoiled indefinitely. Storing honey in the refrigerator leads to a swift crystallization process due to the low temperatures involved. This results in a texture that becomes grainy, hard, and nearly unmanageable for scooping or spreading. One might consider it merely a change in texture, wouldn't one? That's not entirely accurate. The crystallization process has the potential to entrap air pockets, subsequently allowing moisture to enter the container upon repeated opening and closing. Moisture poses a significant threat to honey. Fermentation can result in an undesirable sour taste and odor in your honey. Moreover, that moisture creates an environment conducive to microbial growth, a challenge that honey typically withstands due to its low water content and elevated acidity levels. Improper storage can significantly compromise its inherent defenses. Low temperatures can inhibit the natural enzymes present in honey, which play a crucial role in its antibacterial effectiveness. Indeed, storing honey in the refrigerator can diminish its health benefits over time. For optimal preservation, honey should be stored in a securely sealed jar, placed in a pantry or cupboard, shielded from direct sunlight and excessive heat. This method preserves its silky consistency, authentic taste, and the beneficial properties that have established it as a reliable solution over time. Second point. Bananas are a fascinating fruit with a rich history and numerous health benefits. Bananas rank among the most favored fruits globally, particularly for older adults who depend on their rich potassium content and ease of digestion. Refrigerating bananas is an effective method to undermine all the qualities that contribute to their appeal. Bananas are classified as tropical fruits, and their internal composition is specifically adapted to thrive in warm climates. Placing them in the refrigerator, particularly before they reach full ripeness, effectively halts the enzymes responsible for the ripening process. Your bananas might not ripen correctly at all. They will remain firm, have a lackluster flavor, and most concerning, their exterior will rapidly fade to a muted gray or black. This discoloration is not merely unattractive. It indicates that cold injury has taken place. Below the darkened exterior, the banana frequently becomes soft in irregular areas and acquires an off-putting metallic taste. However, aside from the taste and visual appeal, refrigeration can adversely affect the natural antioxidants present in bananas, particularly dopamine and catechins. These compounds play a crucial role in supporting brain health and mitigating oxidative stress in aging cells. For older adults, those compounds hold significant value, and placing bananas in the fridge diminishes their presence without anyone realizing it. Moreover, if the banana is overripe prior to refrigeration, the moisture accumulation within the peel can foster mold growth, particularly in the vicinity of the stem. By prioritizing shelf life, you may inadvertently increase the risk of mold exposure. To ensure optimal ripening, bananas are best stored at room temperature, preferably suspended or placed in a fruit bowl that allows for adequate air circulation. For those with an abundance of ripe bananas, it is advisable to peel and freeze them in a container. This method preserves their quality for future use in smoothies or baking endeavors. However, I advise against displaying them with the expectation that their durability will be extended. The result will be fruit that has diminished in nutrients, compromised in texture, and ultimately lost its intended purpose. First and foremost, extra virgin olive oil. One of the most hazardous foods to store in the refrigerator, particularly for older adults, is olive oil. This essential ingredient is widely appreciated for its heart-healthy benefits and its adaptability in various cooking applications. Refrigerating olive oil leads to a phenomenon known as solidification, during which the fatty acids crystallize. This results in the oil appearing cloudy and becoming partially solid. Although this physical change is not necessarily detrimental, the continuous temperature variations caused by repeatedly placing the oil in and out of the refrigerator pose significant health risks that many seniors may not be aware of. Every time olive oil transitions from cold to warm temperatures, its chemical structure experiences stress that hastens oxidation, which can lead to the formation of harmful free radicals and reduce the oil's advantageous antioxidant properties. The oxidative alterations can convert heart-healthy oil into compounds that may inadvertently encourage joint inflammation, counteracting the very needs of seniors. It is particularly alarming that research indicates these temperature-stressed oils could exacerbate joint inflammation and digestive issues, conditions that are already widespread among older adults. The solidification process renders the oil challenging to pour, thereby heightening the risk of spills or excessive use, which contributes unnecessary calories to the diets of seniors. In addition to health implications, the flavor profile is significantly compromised, as refrigerated olive oil loses its unique fruity and peppery characteristics, which are essential for enhancing Mediterranean-style diets that are advocated for cardiovascular well-being. To preserve its quality, it is advisable to store olive oil in a dark glass bottle or a metal container, placing it in a cool cabinet away from heat sources such as the stove. When stored correctly, premium olive oil can preserve its health benefits and flavor for as long as 2 years from the date of bottling. These are the 9 foods that should never be refrigerated. Begin by restructuring your kitchen according to the categories of food. It is advisable to store tropical fruits such as bananas and avocados outside of the refrigerator until they reach optimal ripeness. It is essential to store potatoes and onions in environments that are cool and dark, avoiding areas that are cold and damp. Bread is best stored at room temperature or in the freezer. It should never be kept in the fridge. Store your honey in the pantry and keep your coffee in an airtight container, ideally placed in a dark cupboard for optimal freshness. Garlic and tomatoes are essential ingredients in many culinary traditions. Regard them as the inherent, potent components they truly represent. It is essential to store them properly to maintain their flavor and maximize their health benefits. We invite your insights and perspectives. Are you aware of the potential risks associated with refrigerating certain foods without realizing it? What modifications will you implement immediately? We invite you to contribute your insights and perspectives in the comment section below. We appreciate receiving them. Thank you for your attention. It appears you are seeking assistance.